Welcome to the Return of WADJEDI Serpent Power Podcast. Here we explore the science of serpent energy and how it is used in yoga, ritual, and medicine to achieve the highest levels of fitness, emotional and sexual wellness, financial prosperity, healing, and spiritual mastery. I'm your host, Fly Priestess, and I invite you to join me on this captivating journey of self-discovery and empowerment.
Sometimes as a whole set, sometimes somebody is looking for balance, just kind of relaxation, inner peace, and things like that. The postures that are part of kinetic yoga might be more suitable because kinetic yoga is more of a slow-moving yoga that also calls on the energies of the different deities. But the postures are slow. It's not forceful or strenuous, and it definitely is something that is more designed to lead toward relaxation, calmness, and peace, and kind of help people be able to overcome your daily stresses and things like that. Whereas the purpose of Wadjet Yoga is a more physically strenuous type of yoga. There are different aspects to it. So there are chants that are incorporated in Wadjet, and the chants use the sound power in order to draw the Wadjet energy up into you in order to direct it into certain parts of your being. There are movements, whereas most types of yoga have postures, and you would move into a posture, and when you hold the posture, it's the posture itself that's providing you with the energy. In Wadjet Yoga, it is actually the movement. The movement is the posture, and each of the movements, sometimes depending on the amount of timing that they're held for, like there can be a movement or that's held where you continuously make a certain movement for 3 minutes or 7 minutes, or some of them, if you're very advanced, 20 minutes, half an hour, that you would continue these movements. And it can become quite strenuous. As I said, there are different levels, so obviously the timing would be adjusted for somebody who is new to Wadjet, but only somebody who has mastered a certain level of power and being able to direct the flow of that power all through their body would actually attempt much higher times. And the raising of the times also adds to the challenge so that the body never becomes completely accustomed to what you're doing, so that you're always advancing, always growing. But the function and purpose of Wadjet Yoga is actually very specifically based on who Wadjet herself is. Wadjet is a deity. She is the guardian of the king. The king is the guardian of the people. In the ancient Kemet, the king was the guardian, and in typical Egyptology texts, the king is kind of considered the head of the priesthood. So rather than having any other function, his function as the head of the priesthood is always what's pushed and spoken of and projected. But in fact, the king is the leader of the army. The king is the one who will go into battle and give his life for his kingdom, whether he's at home organizing and planning what to do, whether he's out making treaties with other countries, or whether he's actually engaged in war to make sure that the cultural borders of what was ancient Kemet were able to be unbreached so that no outsiders could come in and taint the population, that they couldn't alter the culture. So he was the guardian of the culture. And as the foremost head guardian of the culture, he had to be extremely powerful, extremely strong, be able to maintain an incredible level of inner calm, inner peace, so that nothing of his emotional field was affecting the way that he went forward into battle. Now, Wadjet is the crown, if anybody knows the crown that sits on top of it's called it's most commonly known as the Uraeus. It's called an Iaret, I-A-R-E-T. It's the Iaret. And this is the snake that comes out from his pineal gland, from his third eye, the point right in between the brow. And all the crowns the king would wear had this Iaret, this snake. And this was to represent that he had fully activated and maximized the Wadjet power flowing through his body to make him into the most divine possible warrior, so that he could stand as the vanguard and the guardian of the entire culture, of the entire country. So the purpose of Wadjet Yoga, as I said, is not just necessarily about finding inner peace. There are a lot of side effects. So the ultimate goal of it would be to make you into a warrior who is somebody who can stand strong for your culture, who's always a defender of your culture, a defender of your right and the right of people around you to live and to be the culture that they want to be. And the side effects of doing Wadjet Yoga also include increased health, increased vitality, because all of these are things that are necessary in order to make you that guardian of your culture, and also a representative of it, so that when other people see you, when people see you from they would respect to see somebody who is who's fit, who's strong, who has a sharp mind, who is calm, and who is able to connect with the things and the people around him, who's able to make the best use of the resources that he or she has available to him or her. And we have a lot of people in our community now who have styled themselves as leaders and master teachers and all sorts of names that are based on ego, essentially, because really we are all students here. And no matter how far you have come in your practice, no matter what path you take, no matter how far you have come, you are still always a student. And as soon as you stop being a student and you start styling yourself as a master teacher or any kind of teacher, you lose some of the ability to coming into your own journey and your own path as well. So we have to always remember that. We are, no matter what level of mastery we achieve in one area, in some other areas, we're always students, and we have to continue to learn and grow and continue to add on to our beings, continue to expand. So that's what divine energy does. Divine energy is constantly expanding, constantly creating. So I just wanted to just make that clarification about the difference there with Wadjet Yoga and Kemetic Yoga. So for people who ask, it's kind of what it is and what it's based on. So again, besides the aim and the focus of it, Kemetic Yoga is also a system that calls on different deities all throughout. So each posture is dedicated or connected to a different deity, and a person's mind would focus on different energies of that particular deity as they go into the postures. Whereas Wadjet is, because of who it is, she is the foundation as the guardian of the culture. She is the foundation of the yoga. So every single aspect of the yoga infuses her energy and brings her energy into it. And also not just herself, but actually the energy, the power that rises up inside you and circulates throughout your body is also a part of this energy. So there's no calling on Wadjet. There are different postures in each series. Each series is connected with a different deity. And for example, the first series, because Nebet-Het, the deity Nebet-Het, whose name means mistress of the house, the mistress of the temple, she is the guardian, or being the mistress of the physical temple means that you have mastered how to use your physical body. So she is the deity who invokes that energy. So the prayers which open and close the yoga and the chants are given to her. So they are sent up to her so that her energy can infuse you and help you to become a master of your own temple in every way, so that you start to understand your organs, you start to understand the systems, and you understand different blockages that you might have, different energies that need moving and circulating through various places. So you begin to understand all these. And for example, in the emotional health series, the emotional mastery series, which is coming up next, Neheb Kau is the deity which is the guardian of the emotional mastery. And Neheb Kau is the snake deity who is the guardian of the Duat, the underworld, and he is responsible for uniting a person's Ka, the deity who rules your head, with the Ba, which is your soul. So in order to have emotional mastery, your head, your mind, which exists here, the guardian who is part of you and is also separate than you, which guides you towards your destiny, that part of you has to be united with your soul, with your infinite part of yourself in order to have emotional mastery. So Those are just two examples of two different divinities whose energies are brought in during the course of going through a yoga set. And so I just wanted to mention that, just to speak on some differences there with the Wadjet energy and the Kemetic yoga, because that's probably one of the most common questions or assumptions that I get when people are asking me questions about Wadjet yoga. And also a lot of questions, I have gotten questions on what sort of techniques people should apply, or what is a good place to start. The most common question I get asked is where to start. When people are new to yoga, they want to know what it is that they can do. And so I just wanted to explain the importance of people using breathing as the very foundation of what it is that they're trying to do. All yoga is for the purpose of creating a geometrical pattern inside the body. So all of the shapes, all of the postures, all of the movements are all angles. Everything has to do with angles. So all of these angles are created to draw certain energies down into your being, into your body, into your physical body, your sound body, your emotional body, your aura, into your chakras, energy centers, into everywhere. And all of this is about geometry. And once this geometry has been achieved, the next thing, once the space has been created, the breath, because the breath contains the life force, the breath has to go into the geometry at its specific angles and being held at in order for there to be change and adjustment inside the body. So the most important foundation of any yoga practice, really of any physical practice, and of your life and life force itself, is learning how to breathe correctly. So I have shared onto the page, onto the Wadjet Yoga group, I shared a meditation that I did. I made a video of a meditation, which is to develop the inner warrior power. And, of course, this meditation has to do with breathing and with creating a certain sound. So the very foundation, the most important foundation is to sit in stillness. And in the beginning of your yoga practice, you want to be able to just sit. Whatever level of capability your body is at when you begin, the most important thing you start off with is not to judge yourself, to judge your past. You begin where you are, and the fact that you're beginning means that you are doing, you are being, and you're expanding into who you are designed to be. So I know a lot of people like to, talk down about themselves when they talk about yoga, about how tight their body is and how they can't stretch. And because mainstream yoga has taught us that yoga, the practice of yoga, is just about, bending your body into some sort of pretzel, everybody thinks that the instant you arrive in class that you should be able to fold your legs over your head and these kind of things. And that isn't what yoga is about at all. The function of yoga itself, again, is to create this geometry so that you can draw down certain forces, certain divinities into different parts of your body so that you can change the conversation going on between your cells, between your organs, and also the conversation that's part of your field. There's a conversation going on in your DNA that tells a story about who your ancestors are. There's a conversation going on in your blood talking about your past, about what emotions that you're holding on to right now. All of your organs are speaking about what emotions you're holding. And in order to change our reality, we have to change our thoughts. This is something that people very commonly understand. This is one of those really common phrases. It's now, with the whole secret and all of this kind of new age reality, we have these catchphrases that are really becoming common among us, but we still are not quite understanding what it is they really are saying, because we have to remember that to make our thoughts become our reality, we have to start to control our thoughts, but we're still not understanding fully where our thoughts originate and where they are kept and held. Now, our physical bodies, our bones, our organs, our blood, and all the parts of our body, actually every cell in our body, contains a record of the thoughts that we think. And it takes this record, gives this record to the DNA so that when the cell replicates, it actually retells the story into the new cell and continues that on. And the only way to change your reality and to change your thoughts is actually to change the story going on in your body. You can't just change your mind. There is no random thing called mind, and there's no location only in the brain for the body, for the whole mind-body complex. It's actually your body is speaking, your body is thinking. Every organ is having a conversation with the other. All of your cells are having conversations with each other. So if you want to change your thoughts, you actually have to change your body physically in order to make that happen. So once again, breathing. I absolutely recommend breathing. Sit down in a chair in whatever way is comfortable for you. Sit down on the floor. The ideal is to sit down on the floor with your legs crossed over in lotus position, which some people are familiar with, or just sit on the floor with your legs crossed. And put your hands at rest on your knees. Make sure that your spine is very tall and straight. And then just connect. First of all, connect with the ground underneath you. And then start to breathe. And as you breathe, wherever your breath is, your energy flows in the same direction as your breath is going. So if you imagine yourself drawing each breath from down inside the earth, even if you live on the 27th floor of a building somewhere, you just have to pull a little harder, but you have to draw the energy up. The energy of the earth radiates out far, far higher than how tall we stand. So we don't have to worry if we're not directly in contact with the earth, but we do need to just concentrate and focus and draw the energy up a little harder. But we would pull the energy up, draw it up through the base of the spine, through the root, and draw it all the way up, draw it up through the top of the head, and breathe it down out the front of the face, from between the eyes, between the brow. And just do this. Just begin with this as a practice. Don't even practice breathing a certain way. Just practice breathing normally, but becoming aware of the breath. And once you find that you can take a certain amount of time out each day, this is also a really important factor too, because just taking the time, putting aside the time for yoga, because yoga is a practice that has to be done consistently in order for it to work, in order for it to make effect within you. And that's what I recommend there. I do see that we have a few calls here, so I'm just going to go ahead and check with one of these and just go ahead and add somebody in. Okay. Now, this is my first time adding calls, conference calls, so please do bear with me. I'm probably not going to get it right on the first go. Let's see. If caller one with your phone number that ends 1104, if you can hear me. Can you hear me, caller? Okay. Hello?
Can you hear me?
Yes. Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. Thanks for calling in.
Thank you for doing the blog talk tonight. I didn't mean to call in to speak, but since I'm on the line, I'm Lydia from Columbus, Georgia. And I wanted to ask a question. Yes, ma'am?
Oh, nice to meet you. Thank you. Sorry.
Yes. I wanted to ask a question because you were going in and out. Your voice was going in and out when you were talking about, you were speaking about Wadjet and what Wadjet actually meant. I didn't get that.
Okay, so Wadjet is actually the name of a deity in the ancient Kemetic tradition, and she is if you have seen the crowns of the kings in ancient Kemet, the snake that is on the front of the crown that goes through the middle of their face in the third eye point. This snake is Wadjet.
Okay. And I heard you say that she was she was the, I heard you say she was maybe foundation or guardian of the people.
Right. Yes, she's the guardian of the king, actually.
Okay, guardian of the king. Okay.
Right. And so she guards the king. She's the one whose energy, as the king, because the king has to prove himself by doing a certain amount of work and developing his own inner energy, his Wadjet energy, to a capacity where he is able to have dominion over all of basically over the whole nation. So he has to develop his power and maximize his power as high and as wide as he possibly can, because he's basically the representative and the guardian of all of the people in his nation. Is his guardian. See, if you ever see this, there's an eye. It's the eye of Haru, and it has on one side of it, if you've ever seen it, it has a snake on one side and it has a vulture on the other side.
Exactly. I'm familiar.
Right. And Wadjet is the snake who guards him from the front, and she's able, because she's a cobra, so she's able to spit venom for, a long distance. Basically, the king's enemies can't even get close to him because of this power that he has. And Nekibet is her sister, the vulture, who is the warm, nurturing, loving one, the one who protects kindly and gives guidance and love and nurturing, where Wadjet is a fierce warrior guardian.
Okay.
All right.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and thank you.
All right, sure. All right, is there anything else I can answer for you?
No, not right now.
Okay. Well, thank you. Thanks
Thank you also for explaining the difference between the Kemetic and the Wadjet Yoga as well.
Oh, sure. Yes, this is actually the most common question that I get, or people just, assume that they are the same thing. So, yeah, it's important to clarify, because there's a really powerful energy that comes up with Wadjet that sometimes people aren't prepared for if they do it for the first time. It really makes a person much more powerful inside their body. And not saying anything, about Kemetic yoga, but just specifically that Wadjet yoga can raise powers and maximize them so suddenly, so quickly that, if you don't know actually what energies you're working with, then you might not be ready or aware of what's actually taking place. So it's good to know the difference. But thank you.
Exactly. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Okay. There is also, let's see, a caller whose phone number ends with 0050. Caller 0050, did you have a question?
Yes, what's up?
Okay.
I heard you were going in and out a little bit. I don't know if the phone was a little bit close to the computer or something, but I could still hear you, but you were going out in and out just a little bit. But
okay.
I heard you mentioning the difference between Kemetic yoga and Wadjet. So now also, what is the difference between, there's a form that somebody has I'll call African yoga. I think the brother's in Europe or England, but then he also might be on the continent. I think he's in Europe. It used to be based in Europe.
Yes. Thank you for your question. I'm gonna let you remain anonymous, caller. But thank you for your question. The African yoga system is a combination of several different systems and philosophical disciplines, I would say. So the African yoga book is, so I don't know much about African yoga specifically, so I'll just mention the information about it that I do know. But there seems to be a somewhat heavy Nubian influence in what the designer, the creator of the African yoga system has, and there seem to be postures that are more based on Hatha yoga. So if anybody's familiar with kind of the more mainstream Western style of yoga, with bending into slow different postures, this form is I would say, would be more of from what I know of it. If anybody has more information on it, they can certainly add to what I'm saying here. But African yoga seems to be a combination of Hatha yoga and a Nuwapian influence that maybe the creator is either a part of that system or has studied it at some time in the past when he developed that yoga system. The African yoga postures that I saw explained in the book didn't correlate with anything from any kind of ancient text, so I wouldn't be able to say, or with any kind of any tribal, any different areas of Africa that I'm aware of, and I don't actually know how the postures, the timing or the breath work, or how any of the postures are held or done, or what the ultimate aim of African yoga is, except in some sense, obviously, to get us closer to our culture through a path that the creator felt was taking us closer to African culture. So that's the only difference that I know about that.
Okay, I appreciate that.
Yes, no problem. Did you have any other questions?
Oh, no, that was it.
Okay, thank you. Caller, your number who ends with 4938, did you have a question? Bear with me just a moment here. Bear with me just a moment. It looks like we're a little stuck here. And also, if anyone has any questions that they wanted to post in the chat room, then, please feel free to add that and let me know. But okay, so caller who's on 4938, did you have a question?
Just listening.
All right, so let me see. I'm not sure. I don't see any questions up in the chat room, so please bear with me. If anybody does have any questions, the chat room screen here in front of me is blank, so I do apologize if you are asking anything and I'm not getting to you. I will try to reconnect with that. Okay. Okay. All right. So I wanted to speak on tonight and just go through. And again, actually, before I go directly into spinal health, let me just mention or explain what the different series of Wadjet Yoga are. So for those who may not be as familiar with the work or who may not have bought the book, the Wadjet Yoga is a set. The entire series has 6 sets, and there are 7 sets in each of the series. So the first one is the physical health series, and the purpose of the physical health series is to clean out the body, purify the body, open back up the physical systems, because without the physical system being fully opened, the energy channels will still be blocked. So there are a lot of places where we carry tension in our bodies where sometimes we're so used to carrying this tension that we don't even realize that we actually have it. And only when we start to stretch out and open up can we feel these energies start to move through us again. So the physical health series is for that purpose. It's to get our bodies back on track. The importance of that is about getting our physical health back in balance, about taking care of ourselves, and not just if we have an illness such as cancer or diabetes or some other kind of issue, some like a colon disorders, asthma, different issues that we may have. The main goal of it is actually to prevent things from happening and to clear things up that are happening in the body. There's a lot of imbalances the way that they're looked at in Western medicine, the Western medicine and English in general is here to make you believe in things. So in the real flow of energy in the universe, there aren't things. There's energy moving, and there's a dynamic between the energy that's moving. The energy is either moving in flow with the other energies around it, or it's moving in an imbalanced pattern with the other energies around it. So because our English language, because this English language, I'm not going to claim it as our, but because the English language has taught us to think in terms of things, we claim our diseases as things, like my diabetes and my asthma, this cancer. And really, in essence, that's actually doing a disservice to our own healing, because we need to recognize imbalance and move back toward balance. We don't need to, as soon as we give something a time and a place in reality, we make it become static. And it's really difficult to heal with the understanding. Once we that something is a thing and it has a place and time and space and it's part of us, it is really, really difficult to shift it and move it. Whereas if you understand that everything is dynamics, everything is energy flowing and moving, and whatever happens in your physical body is just a pattern, a product of what it is that you have been doing, how you've been thinking, how you've been eating, how you've been living, how quickly, how often do you go to bed on time, how often do you wake up early, what are you doing in the day, do you exercise, do you not exercise? When you have an imbalance in your body, there's no thing going on in your body. There is a product of the dynamic of how you have been living all that time. So when we want to get better, we don't say, oh man, I have this diabetes and it's never going to go away. I guess I have to take the doctor's medication. There are other options. The diabetes is a response in your body to how you've been treating it. So if you begin to treat it in a different way, your body begins to respond in a different way. So there are a lot of things that we can do. So one important aspect of yoga and all systems of yoga is that it helps you get in touch with the capacity to feel and hear what it is your body is saying to you at any given moment. When your body is calling out for help, when your body is asking for something more, something less, because we're so used to living unnaturally and living according to things which exist outside of us. We live for time, which is false. Time is an artificial division of infinity, but we all agree that we're going to move in time and base ourselves on time. So we have to, I have to rush to work and I have to be here on time. I have to be here on time. There isn't even such thing as time, but because we've made an agreement to believe in time, we allow ourselves to develop physical responses to time. So this is one thing. So when we don't go to bed on time, when we wake up late, when we are rushing to get somewhere where we're supposed to be on time, these kind of things create patterns, especially when these are something that we do on a regular basis. This time becomes a master, and this artificial division of infinity becomes one of our masters. And then another one of our false masters is money. We've made the agreement to believe in money, so a lot of us have to stress out about how much money we need, how little money we might have, where our next money is going to come from, what are we going to do in order to make money come into our lives, how many of our own personal real dreams that we would be living if money was not a factor, how many of them that we are willing to throw away in order to pursue money, continue to survive. And this living like this on a regular basis actually destroys our spirit, because we didn't come here to chase money. We actually came here with a specific set of characteristics, hopes, dreams, personality traits, and we are supposed to understand them, learn about ourselves, figure ourselves out, and then use those qualities, because those are our clues and our markers about who we came here to be, and we're supposed to use those in order to become who it is that we are destined to be. We all came here with a purpose to serve, and many of us don't live that purpose because rather than look within and understand our purpose and what we're made of, we're looking outside of ourselves at time. We're looking at money. And then also the artificial perception of what other people think of us is another one many of us fall victim to. Worrying about how do people feel? What will people think if I do this? What will people act like if I say that? How will people respond to me if I become this person, or if I let go of being this person and I become something else? And the false thought process we make up, usually it's a lot of times it's based in some kind of reality. We know how we generally understand the people around us and how they might respond to us. But one thing that we have to understand is when we make a choice to be our real selves, people have to accept that. There isn't any other choice. So while we live in the slavery of other people's opinions and thoughts about us, we're losing an opportunity to be our real selves and to give the other person a chance to accept the real us. So these are the three of the worst slave masters that we have to deal with now. We have to deal with time, with money, and with other people's perception of us. And those are the three worst things that create disease in the current reality that we live in. Those are the top three creators of disease. So we have to start to shed those. First of all, we have to recognize them. And we have to recognize their place in our reality. We have to recognize how much we feed our energy, our personal energy, and how much life force we give away to those three things every day. If we just sit back, just sit. And this is another reason that it's important to just sit, take a moment each day, meditate, self-assess. How much time did I give away today to false things? How much time did I give away to money? How much did I give away to the falsity of time? How much did I give away to what other people think? And what did it lead to? What did it give me? And then we have to remember how to replenish the energies. First of all, we need to start to shift our lives so that we give less and less energy to those things. But then also we need to learn part of rebalancing and coming back into balance in our health is about learning how to pick ourselves back up, feed back the energy, because in all circumstances it's not always possible. Some people, it depends on a person's personality, on their energy. Some people are much more sensitive to the feelings of others around them, and it may not be as easy to just say, well, I'll just F everyone and forget about everybody and I'm not going to care. And then some other people are joyful about having that very same attitude. They are excited to go out and show everybody how much they don't care about what anybody thinks or what everybody says. And they will aggressively show everyone around them that they do not care, which of course isn't another way of showing that they actually still care what everybody thinks around them, but that's a whole other story. But as far as getting back into the health, getting back into balance, we have to first understand these things, and then we have to develop strategies, which yoga is one of these strategies of how to bring our bodies and our lives back into balance. So again, the physical health series is to get our energy back into our body, release places that have been stuck with fear, because every organ in the body, every system in the body speaks a language of joy when we're moving in tune with who we are and who we're supposed to be. Everything moves in flow. Energy flows freely through the body. We are able to sleep well, wake up when we want. We can walk easily, comfortably. We can sit comfortably for long periods of time. We're not afraid to be alone. We can eat, we can digest our food well, and there are a whole host of things that come when we can just sit and be with our own bodies. A whole range of health benefits that happen just from that. So, first series, physical health series, and after the physical health series in Wadjet Yoga is the emotional mastery series, and this is another area that is of vital importance in our nation. Because right now, we are existing in a time when everybody seems to be criticizing each other, upset with each other, not trusting each other, fearful of each other. And these are things that happen in relationships. This happens at the community level, and this is affecting our ability to form into a cohesive nation. We are just not getting there. All our attempts so far keep seeming to like paint against the wall that just slides down. It just keeps falling off, and there are movements which are catching on and picking up momentum as we move into this kind of new time. But we absolutely, without a doubt, have to develop a sense of emotional mastery. We have to stop fearing criticism. We have to stop being afraid when somebody hurts us, because pain happens. All of us are broken. That we're human beings of the planet. We are the tail end right now in this moment, the tail end of hundreds of years of pain, suffering, abuse, and all of these things are still with us. All of these memories are still part of our spirits. Many people among us have died in belonging to religions that don't give any explanation whatsoever about what happens to a person after they die. So when you think about the fact that for hundreds of years, spirits have been coming here under the notion of, and living their entire lives under this notion of Christianity, where they have one life, where they're going to die. Once they die, they're just dead. And after that, there is nothing else. And then when their spirit crosses over, they're utterly lost and confused. And they're utterly lost and confused. Decades pass by. At some point, hundreds of years pass by. At whatever point it is time for them to reincarnate into a body, what do they come back and do? They don't come back as beings. They weren't doing what they were supposed to when they went to the other side. They didn't do what we've been trained in our ancestral religion to do all of these centuries. They didn't assist the living because they were busy trying to figure out, well, where am I? What am I doing here? Why am I here? Why am I not waiting for the pearly gates to open? Or I'm just under these total misconceptions. So the people who are recycling, who are reincarnating back onto the earth here, are spirits who have not even finished the job they were supposed to do in the other side. And then they come back through, and so all that does is compound the problems that we have. This is why the earth looks like it does today. This is why there's so much war, so much hate, so many problems. We are the tail end of people who have recycled in and out over and over, having no clue what they were supposed to be doing. This is one of the dangers. People are always talking about this, Christianity and false religions based on how people behave when they're here. But what about the effects of when people leave here? That's the far, far, far more important. Slavery. People talk about, the slave mine religion, and the pastor says this, and people just swallow up everything they say. Far, far, far worse than whatever misinformation a pastor can give in a church is the fact that these people are leaving here without understanding what their purpose and function is when they leave, and they're not fulfilling it, and they're coming back as unfulfilled souls. So their religion has created a self-fulfilling prophecy. They talk about people being born in sin, and they've created people who have no idea who they are supposed to be when they leave, what they're supposed to do while they're gone, or what they're supposed to become when they come back. So they have created people who are born in sin. Not people who are evil necessarily, but people who are clueless. The planet is full of clueless people right now, and it's at a deep spiritual level because people have not been trained in the religion of the indigenous people because they haven't understood who it is that are supposed to be. So emotional mastery is a combination of what it is a person's character has for right now, but also what it is that they're supposed to be. And the reason that Neheb is the divinity who is the guardian of the emotional mastery series is because he is the guardian who unites the person's ka, the person's ability to know their destiny with their soul. And this is, we have to achieve emotional mastery, not just for ourselves for right now and our ability to get along with each other, to have positive relationships with our families, to raise our children positively and give them a better future, to have partnerships, business partnerships, community connections. But we also, this is for posterity. We need to be emotional masters so that we are able to come back here when it's time, so that we're able to leave here and assist those who are after us And then when it's time for us to come back, that we also know what it is that we're supposed to be doing while we're in the other side and what it is we're supposed to be doing when we get back. So emotional mastery is not just about a temporary, learning how to behave, learning how to get along with somebody like this is a kindergarten class. It's much, much, much bigger than that. So that's so the physical health series is first, the emotional mastery series is second, and the third is the sexual health series, the sexual intelligence series. And the sexual intelligence series, I almost don't even have to say, because there's such rampant, disgusting, dysexual behavior going on in the Western world today. Not just the Western world, there are other places where it's been affected too. But this problem also, there's definitely a reason why, of all the types of people who can go to prison, and of all the types of people who can go to prison and be accepted for whatever crime they commit, whatever rapists, murderers, thieves, child molesters are always the ones who somebody will go and kill them, because it is universally recognized that when you create the sexual behavior in a child, you have actually broken them down and destroyed some aspect of their being, possibly for their whole entire life. So one moment of sickness put onto a child can actually take away their entire destiny. And a lot of us are also living under the sickness of the sexual behavior. A lot of people have had sick things happen to them in their childhood, have either witnessed, caused, or been a victim of this kind of behavior. A lot of people still hide it in guilt. A lot of people want to forget about it. And a lot of people just want to push it under the rug and not deal with it. But we have to remember that every experience we go through is stored inside of ourselves, like I was saying about the physical health series, about why it's important to clean these out. Every experience we have is stored. So no matter how deeply what you think is your mind pushes away whatever experiences happen to you, those memories are constantly replicating. Every time your cells replicate, every time your organs have a conversation with each other, that information is replicated and being told over and over and over again. And we are continuing habits and patterns that are absolutely destroying our relationships, destroying our communities, because we can't trust each other. So much fear and so much sickness going on among us that we can't trust each other. And until we learn how to trust each other, we are not going to be able to move forward. So this one, sexual intelligence, is vital. It's not just about having sex with somebody else, how to have sex. And it's absolutely, the function and purpose of it is not about like tantra or these kind of practices about developing sex to maybe give somebody else more pleasure. It's about using sexuality as the tool that it is, recognizing that sexual energy contains an infinite degree of power, and it's not a toy. Sex is not a toy. It should be only connected with with the understanding of how sacred it is. And so using this, coming back into our communities, we have to recognize the sacred aspect of this, because once we put back this sacred connection, give it back its rightful place, and sexuality, and even again, not to keep beating up on Christianity today, but Christianity has also given us some really warped views about what is good sexual behavior or negative sexual behavior by putting all kinds of rules and constraints that really have more to do with having power over people than with any kind of sickness or negativity that is caused in a body or caused between two people when they engage in activity together. So we have to relearn sexual sacredness. We have to learn to relate to each other, and we have to learn how to use sexual energy and sexual power in order to bring ourselves to a higher place of health and healing. And not just, again, it's not just a quick pleasure toy. So the sexual intelligence series is to address all of these areas, to address removing the sickness, to address people who've been victims of sickness and how to help them heal inside their bodies. And this also in turn would help correct issues like fibroids, tumors, different issues that men and women both get that are affected, or just even when their entire pelvic area locks up because they have sexual guilt that they walk around with, or because they have sexual fear that they walk around with. This series is designed to help open that up, because when your power is locked away, your pelvis is your power to move through life. Just like when you walk, the pelvis swings, the body moves, the legs move forward. If the pelvis is tight and it's not opened up, for example, you can check this out of how much power you are even able to move through your body, how much Wadjet power you can move. If you sit down on the floor and cross your legs, and take one of the legs when you cross and put it up so that the foot is resting on top of your thigh. If you are not able to do that, that means that more than 70% of your energy, of your Wadjet power, no matter how much you break it open and burst it up, it is literally never going to leave your pelvic region because the area is too tight. So you have to look and see whether there's sexual guilt, sexual shame, sexual pain, any kind of fear that's locked into your pelvic area. And then also to recognize that, this area is just not one that gets stretched out a lot, and actually take steps in order to do that. So those are the first 3 series of the Wadjet. I'm just going to speak on the first 3 series for today and go into the 4th and forward the next 3 next time. But just to mention them, the 4th series is the Abundance series. Not a lot of people know that there are actually meditations that do exist which will bring you money. I use them. I changed my life with them. I know that they work. There are ones, so we need to develop, in order for us to develop economic empowerment in our community, we have to be able to develop the capacity to seize opportunities when they come to us, to recognize which opportunities are for us according to our destiny, and which ones we need to let go of or leave behind, which may sound good, but they're not the right opportunities for us in the path that we have to move in, and how to bring enough and change. We also need to change and shift, because again, through our ancestral DNA, we have a heritage of lack in our community. We lack all the time, even the things that we choose to name our efforts, when we call them the struggle. Everybody's in the struggle, and it's a proud thing to be part of the struggle, but we're not supposed to struggle. Life isn't supposed to be a struggle. It's supposed to be a radiant, open opportunity to expand instantly. It's not supposed to be a struggle. Struggle and something is blocked. And if we're in a struggle as a people, that means something is stuck and something is blocked, and we have to unblock it, release it, so that we can flow freely as the beings that we came here to be, as the beings we were designed to be. So the Abundance series covers all of that. It covers actually how to get cash into your hand, as well as how to change your mindset and how to heal your ancestral pain that has caused lack in your life. So there's the Abundance series. There's also the Healer series, and the Healer series is to help expand and open and to be able to process the energies that we get from other people, because all of us are healers in some capacity. Whether we actually go out and make the effort to study healing, which especially for my healers out there who actually are working and creating and healing all of the community, there's a lot of work that you all have to do. So learning how to process those energies, how to protect yourself from those energies is really important. So the Healer series helps develop your intuition. It helps you know when to reach farther with someone, when to let go, when to step back, because sometimes we take on healing, and a lot of times as healers, we take on people's suffering and we make it our own, and it becomes a habit and a part of our way of being. So I'm just going to pause quickly and just let everybody know we have just about a minute and a half left of the show. So if anybody would like to call in, once again, the call-in number is 657-383-0709. So the on-air is going to cut off in the next minute and a half, but if you are still interested in continuing to listen, we won't go too far over the time limit, but if anybody is still interested in listening, just make sure to give a call, 657-383-0709. So back to the series. So after the health series, the last series of Wadjet Yoga is mastery. It's the spiritual mastery series. And that one is akin to an initiation of sorts. All of the levels of yoga contained in the spiritual mastery series are for once you have learned how to direct the flow of energy moving through your body, cleaning out those energies, direct the flow of energies emotionally in your emotional field and how to connect with others freely, and so that the energy is flowing freely in your dynamic with others, changing your sexual energy and learning to harness and control and understand it, learning how to change your financial energy and learning how to harness and maneuver and control that also, and then learning how to connect with others at a healer level and not just at a basic level. And then finally, after all of this, then you develop a spiritual mastery, and that whole series is devoted to be able to doing that. So these are all the 6 levels of Wadjet Yoga, and the entire series can be done one all in a row. It can either be done 1 through 42. For example, if you wanted to every day do a different set, you could do 42 days in a row and go through the entire cycle. Or you could concentrate in a certain area. For example, take the physical the physical series, continue going through the physical series over and over and over indefinitely until you felt that your body was at a level of purity or clarity where you felt like you wanted to move on to the next one. If you have sexual trauma in your past, you may want to work on the sexual health series, sexual intelligence, and continue to do it over and over. You could, the sets can be worked on indefinitely, as I say. You could do the sexual health series for a year if you wanted to. But this is the gist, this is the essence of how the whole Wadjet Yoga series works. And that's the introduction I wanted to share with everybody for today. So I thank you all for tuning in. I really appreciate everybody. I appreciate the questions. And I look forward to the next conversation with you all. Thanks, and have a good night.